What's going on? You locked in with the Innovators YouTube. You already know I got the best interviews right here, man. I got Boobie Lootaveli in the studio. Oh, what's poppin'? How you doing?
Yo, what's happening?
What's going on?
What's good, my bro?
We talked about it briefly before we got into it, but I got to talk about your name. Like, it's super interesting. How did you come up with that?
Okay, so I guess like my life nickname has been Boobie
Yeah.
since like second grade. Feel me? So that's just always been my nickname throughout life was Boobie.
Yeah.
You know, but as it came to be that I started making music and wanting to take shit seriously, I felt like I needed to have like a rap name. You
Right.
know, I wasn't just finna be like, I was like, all right, maybe I could do just Boobie. But at the time, I had gone on a field trip with my football team to see this movie called Friday Night Lights.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's a character in that movie that his name is Boobie Miles.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, damn, that's dope. You feel me? Like the Boobie something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, bet, you know. And I used to play football like growing up and shit like that, you know. But when I started rapping, I feel like people who really influenced me wanting to make music. A big inspiration of mine was Max Bigavelli. You feel me? Free to Wave, by the way. So he locked up right now. You know, I don't know if you know who Max B is, or his story or whatever. You know, but you know, coming up in high school and shit, I was listening to his music and just like, I was like, bro, he up next. You know, and then all this crazy shit happened to him or whatever. So growing up in Miami, it was crazy because I was in tune with him and what was going on, but not everybody in Miami was really in tune with that because it was really some New York shit.
Exactly.
But I had a family in New York, and then one of my cousins, you know, my cousins grew up over there and shit like that. So growing up, I would go to New York and be out there in the hood, and it's crazy because I got to see both sides of like the hood in Miami growing up, and then going over there to New York and seeing how my cousins was growing up, and I'm like, yo, I was kind of happy like how we had it back home, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so he influenced me a lot as far as making music and like how he came up with his name. Like I thought the whole Bigavelli shit was tight. How he one time said that it was like a mixture of Biggie, Jay-Z, and Pac, which he thought were the best rappers to ever rap.
Right.
And he thought he was the greatest ever. So when I thought about it and I was like, yo, you know, we gonna do this shit. Like I started this shit with my homies back in the day on some high school shit. That was like we would call each other Loot Boys. You feel me? So, you know, and then one day just on some high shit, like I thought of like an acronym. Is that what it is? Like where every letter has a meaning.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, life on our terms. And I was like, my dog was like, yo, that shit hard. And I was like, yo, that's hard. I was like, all right, bet. So it's like, you know, Loot Boys, you know, but now it stands for something, you know, Loot, you know, and it was also, not only was it like our little like group name or whatever of us just out here like causing fucking mayhem and shit and going to parties and, you know, just wild shit. But it was also like a way of speaking in a way. So it's like if you out here tonight and you having fun and you chilling, you know, and you spill a fucking, you know, on some drunk shit, spill a fucking drink everywhere, kill the vibe, like damn, hey, this man looting it. Like what's up with this man? You feel me?
Right.
Or it could also be like, yo, tonight we fucking looting it. We going crazy. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it started being a thing where people all of a sudden this was a vocabulary that was used around people that we didn't even know around the city, like where we was at, which was tight.
Yeah.
So I was like, shit, like not only is it like this deeper meaning, which is life on our terms, but it turned into like a terminology in its own of just life, So I thought that was cool as fuck, but I ended up coming up with Booby Lootaveli because I did the same shit Max did,
Yeah.
And it just happened that way, like Booby Lootaveli. And then a lot of people get it misconstrued or see the name and get confused, or like, how do you spell that, or how do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
Or like, is that like Italian or some shit, or like, is that like what but then when you hear it, you're like, oh, it makes perfect sense. Like it makes perfect sense now. You feel me? Like
it the wrong way.
Oh shit, So it's like, it's literally just like that same shit, like Tupac emulated the whole Machiavelli shit and all that, and then Max Bigavelli emulated his own wave, and then Booby Lootaveli, the future. You dig?
Ludovelli, it got a nice ring to it. I ain't gonna lie. Booby Lootaveli got a nice ring to it.
That's why it's like, me being who I am, like, I got a lot of alter egos and a lot of different aliases. So one of them is the Lootaveli. Like, I'm the Lootaveli. You feel me? So it's like every time like somebody doubts me or something, I'm like, come on, man. Like, it's the Lootaveli, bro. Come on. Yeah. Like, chill. Oh, I know. All right, bet. Act like you know. You feel me?
Yeah. No, I got you. I like the name. I think it's very creative as well. To get into it, what's your ethnicity?
I'm Colombian. I was born in Bogota, Colombia. I came to the United States when I was like 7 or 8. But my grandfather on my father's side is Arab.
Okay.
And he's actually from the city where Jesus was born in.
Really?
Which is Bethlehem, I think. I believe Bethlehem. He's from there, wow. Right? And he migrated to Colombia as a kid, and then lived his life in Colombia and had my dad and his brothers and sisters, and then my mom and my dad came to the United States when I was like 7 years old or some shit like that.
Do you remember like the years before you came to the United States?
I do. I remember like bits and pieces of it, but it was fucked up because like in Colombia, like we had a nice life, we had a good life, like my mom, she was a lawyer that worked with like the government and shit. So she made good money, and my dad was a hustler. Like he had a cab business and this and that. And he was, so we had like a nice house and a nice car, and you feel me? Like it was like life was good. But, on my mom's side of the family, like my grandpa and shit, at one point he was like one of the most richest men in Colombia because he was a businessman, but that also like laundered money for like cartels and shit, under the table.
Yeah, of course.
And so like the way my mom grew up was very like rich and like very like, with a lot of like resources and a lot of like freedoms. And so like all of her brothers and sisters like grew up to not be shit. And she was the only one that went to school, got her degree, did this, did that. And so because of that, she like made her own way. And but she was getting like a lot of death threats and shit from like La FARC, which is like the fucking, like the guerrillas, which is basically like a militia army that basically runs part of Colombia that live in the mountains. And what they do is like they kidnap people and hold them for ransom for money and shit like that. Or, they also like are big in like the drug trade or whatever the fuck going on or whatever. But yeah, so she was getting a lot of death threats, so she was like, yo, we should go to the States. And then that's what we did. Yeah. But that shit ended up hitting us hard because like we ain't really have nobody out here.
So it's like starting over from scratch.
From scratch. So yeah, even like when we came to this country, like we ain't have shit. Like at first we stayed at my aunt's crib, but my aunt on my mom's side, like I told you, they was kind of raised like very like savagely because they had it all. So these bitches was like wildin'. So she actually stole from my mom and shit, like all type of crazy shit when we first moved out here. So we ended up like living out of like our van, like out of our car and shit for like a couple months and shit until we got an apartment, and then like little by little. But yeah, that shit crazy.
How did it feel to have this life in Colombia and then come to the United States and then it kind of went 360?
I mean, at the same time, like I was so young that it was like, it felt like it was all like a dream, like like I lived this life in Colombia as a kid, as a child, and as a baby, and then I literally like learned English overnight. Like I don't remember learning how to speak English. I just remember not knowing English, and them putting me in second grade, and then they're like, "Nah, this kid doesn't know English," so they put me in first grade, and then overnight, just for some reason, I just knew English, like just like that. So like that, I don't even remember like learning how to speak English. That shit.
That's crazy.
You feel me? It's crazy.
That's super crazy. So, as far as like your childhood, it was a good childhood. Like you had both parents around. Like it was, you overall say it was good.
I mean, I had both of my parents, which is something that I've always been grateful for. You feel me? But unfortunately, that's all we had. Literally, it's just my mom and my dad and my little brother, who was born as soon, like literally the year we came, wow. 2001. So he was born 2 days after the Twin Towers.
Wow.
So my mom was scared because she thought she was gonna have the baby like that day and shit. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, that shit was wild. But it sucks because not only is it it's like bad and sad and lonely for them because they don't got nobody. So it's like coming up when you don't have anybody to like lend a hand or to be like help you or it's all about who get you a job here, do this, do that, learn how to and my parents didn't have that here in this country. So I just kind of had to I kind of grew up on my own. So from the moment I was at first we lived in like North Miami and shit, and then we end up moving to South Miami, and that's where I end up. The school that I went to was a art magnet school for like the arts, so like for music and playing instruments, right. or visual arts, drawing, painting. So I auditioned for the visual arts program, and I made it into the program. So I was in like the drawing program and shit, and then I stayed in that through 8th grade. So I was drawing and painting and shit, which was a good thing because South Miami was like, it was the hood, but thankfully the school was an art magnet school, which made it a good school where you could learn different things, and it's not just a regular middle school, so that was cool growing up.
Yeah. What was your time like in Miami? Like, what did you do? Is like you was getting older. You say you play sports, but like, what is the transition into music and all that?
Well, honestly, just I always like rap music from the moment like I heard rap music. Like it's crazy because I was talking about this shit with my pops. Like the first time that I ever heard like rap music, I was in Colombia, and it was like an Eminem music video.
That's tight.
And I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? And they were talking about the Eminem and this and that. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. So, at the time, it's not like we had the internet that you could just look up artists or, and I was fucking 5 years old. So time passed. We come to this country, and then I went to the mall with my mom and my aunt, and this was like literally like 3 days into us getting to the United States. And then my aunt bought me the Get Rich or Die Trying 50 Cent album.
It's a classic.
Right. So, because I wanted to get the Eminem album, but I saw the 50 Cent one. And I was like, damn, who the fuck is this dude? And I saw like like it said Interscope. It was like the same thing as Eminem. So I was like, yo, like, and then I ended up finding out that he got signed to like Dr. Dre and Eminem and shit. It was because of them. And so I was like, oh, damn, this dude hard. And I listened to that whole album for like 2 years, and it was funny as fuck. I would just bump it in the whip out loud, and my mom and my pops would just be in a car, and they don't know a lick of English.
So they don't know what's being said.
They don't know what's being said. And I'm just like 10 years old and shit, like going crazy in the car listening to this shit, you feel me? Like, so yeah, that shit was dope. And then that's how like rap music was introduced to me. So from that point on, I knew that I loved music, especially rap. So I got into like 50 Cent was a huge inspiration for me in G-Unit, and I would dress up like fucking G-Unit, you know what I mean? All the homies in school and shit, it was a big thing. And then I started getting into more music and shit and more artists and like what was going on. Like back then, it wasn't like how it was on the internet. It was like what was being played on 106 in Park and all this shit, you know what I'm saying? Sure. So it was what was on there. That's how you would discover artists, you feel me? So that's how I discovered T.I. and like rest of other people and shit as time went on, Ludacris and shit. But bro, honestly, I started writing music like in 6th grade, next to my homie in science class. And I just started like writing raps and like rapping it to him, and he's like, "Oh, that's dope." And then a couple years later, I had a homie that lived close by to me that had a little studio set up, so I'd go to his crib and see what he was doing. I wouldn't record anything, but he was like a rapper, so I just, because I was scared. Feel me? So I just look at him record because he was like a rapper and shit. You feel me? So. And it's crazy because then in high school, my homie that I told you that I was like wrote my first raps next to, that's my homie Mikey, who then ended up becoming a producer and making music with Pouya and Fat Nick and helping them and doing this and that. And I went to high school with him as well. And
went to high school together?
We went to high school together as well too, middle school and high school. So in high school, he wasn't making music either, but yeah, we would talk about it though. And then around that time was when I was like, going out with the homies and going crazy, and that's when the Loot Boy shit popped off, and I was going to my homie Tommy's crib, and that's where we were go to record music because he had a little studio set up. So me and the homies would go there and record. That's where I started recording music for the first time, and he putting it on SoundCloud, and it was like really bad. You feel me? This was literally like 2011, some shit. Then high school ends. I graduate high school in 2012. Like, I was able to graduate high school, something that a lot of motherfuckers didn't do for some reason. Like, I thought that shit was easy, honestly.
Nah, you'd be surprised. That's true.
And so right after high school, I ran into my homie Mikey at a gas station right by the crib because we lived close by to each other. I would go to his crib sometimes back in the day. So we ran to the gas station. He was with the homie Pouya, and he was like, "Yo, this is my boy Pouya." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I know you," because we used to all go to the same high school, right. But I ain't know, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, yo, what's good? And then he's like, yeah, I got a little studio set up. Let me know if you want to come through. You feel me? Just shoot me like $20. You feel me, for the hour or whatever. Blah blah. I was like, all right, cool. At the time, I went right after high school. I went to college for like 1 semester.
Where'd you go?
It was Miami-Dade College.
Okay.
And then they accepted me to go to college, and they gave me financial aid. So they gave me like $1,200 just to go to school for a semester.
Right.
Feel me? So I was like, oh shit, you gonna pay me to go to school? You feel me? Like, all right. So I did that, and then that's when I was like thinking like, what the fuck I'm gonna do with my life, like. Obviously I wasn't good enough to go play football or like, like make that shit an actual thing, So I was like, you know what? I saw that the homies was doing shit. Pouya dropped this song called Get Buck and started picking up, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So I started getting in the studio. I started paying for studio time, going to the studio, doing this, that. I'd get in the studio with Mikey sometimes, make shit, blah, blah. And then it reached a point where I was just like, yo, I'm gonna take this shit serious 100%. And this was until a couple years later, like 2015, 2016. I was like, yo, I'm gonna take this shit serious. And I went crazy with it. And I had a homie that had just got a job working at Cinematic Records doing like cover arts and shit like that. And he was playing my music around the office. And then that's when I first went to like New York and met with a couple labels that were kind of interested in signing me, but not really, but yeah, but and and that shit was fun for the time being, because like they would hook me up with studio time in New York. So they'll be like, yo, we're gonna fly you out and and give you studio time, but that's it. And I'm like, all right, for sure. So I just go stay with my homie, like knock out on his couch for a couple of nights, go to the studio, chill, you feel me? So that was fun, And then it reached a point where this dude, Johnny Shipes, he's a good he was a good homie. He really like, there was a moment where he was like really eager on signing me, and like he was like, yo, I think you're a star, this and that, but he kind of wanted me to lean more towards being like a weed rapper and doing more like Smokers Club type stuff. And I was like, but, I love to smoke weed, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a weed rapper, So he offered me a deal, and then that night just so happened Mikey called me through FaceTime, and he's like, what's good? What you doing out there? I'm like, oh, I'm meeting up with Shives. I'm meeting up with a couple labels. And then he was like, you know what? I say you just come back home and let's get to work. I want to holler at you. So I got back home. And then Mikey was like, look, bro, I'm going to be like your manager type shit. And we're going to get in the studio. I'm going to produce all these fucking songs for you. Get you in the studio. Engineer all these songs for you. You feel me? Give you the fucking, like, you don't have to pay for no studio time. Or, what I mean? Now I got a spot where I could record at. I got a team of people that I could record with. You feel me? He's like, as far as features go with anybody else, if you prove yourself, motherfuckers are going to come around. You know what I mean? Right. So I just go to the studio every day and record music and blah, blah. And if you needed me to help clean out the studio, or I'll go help clean out the studio and do this, that, the next. And then I was just recording music. And then one day I was just talking shit with Pouya, and he was like, yo, let me hear what you've been working on. And I sent him a couple songs, and he's like, yo, all this shit is hard. Like, let me hop on every song. I was like, all right, we might as well drop a little mixtape. He's like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then that's how me and Pouya got around to dropping them fucking whole tape. Yeah. And then he took me on tour, blah, 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 all that shit, and after all that shit, now your boy's over here, you know what I mean? Life on our terms out now, baby. Let's go.
That's super dope to see how like everything came about for you. Was there times where you ever like were giving up on yourself? Did you always feel like you would get to this moment, or what was your mindset with doing that?
I've always like believed in myself. I've had my demons. I've had times where I've been close to giving up, or I've battled with addiction, throughout the past couple of years as well. But at the end of the day, I always knew, and I've always known that that I got it in me, you know, and I've seen people around me that have gotten to places where I want to get to, and it's literally only just you working. And I feel like it does have to do with talent to a certain extent, and it does have to do with, a little bit of luck, a little bit of talent, but I feel like it has to do with a lot of like just putting in work and just nonstop being consistent. And that's where I lacked for a couple years because life happens, you feel me?
Yeah.
And now I'm just super fucking excited because I finally dropped this tape that I've been working on for the past year and a half, 2 years, and it's finally out. The monkey's off my back, and now I can finally move on to consistently drop heaters, drop the next tape, drop this collab tape with so and so, drop this shit with so and so, you know what I mean? Drop some different shit, drop some Spanish shit, some Spanish bangers.
You rap it, that's super tight. As far as like the project, Life on Our Terms, that's out now, all streaming platforms. What was the mindset overall for the project where you were putting together? You've been working on it for a while, like you said. Like,
well, I have been working on it for a while, but I just felt like my first project just needed to symbolize something that's just me, and that, at the end of the day, like this whole Life on Our Terms shit, we ended up turning it into a lifestyle after having that moment where I was like, oh shit, this shit sound cool, and then I'm like, hey, but then again, that's kind of how we live. We live on our own terms, you feel me? We do shit on our own time. And I was like, we gonna run with this because it's not something that you gotta fake the funk over. It's just this how we live. So I ended up wanting to make that the name of my project, and I thought that it would be fitting for my first project to be named that. So we went crazy. It's Life on Our Terms.
Yeah, I definitely like the way you broke that down, and I think everybody can relate to that. Yeah. Not everybody lives life on their terms, but
you feel me?
Everybody wants to.
Everybody wants to. You feel me? So, there's a lot of people that are going through that transitional period of like you want to be a business owner or you want to be on your own, but you have to work that job. Like you live life on your terms, as in you gonna get there one day. And be your own fucking boss and work your own hours, and so it's just motivating the people to do that,
Right. What's your process like in the studio, recording and working on songs?
Honestly, I have various processes. Like, either if I walk in the studio and the homie's making a beat and I just come up with that first bar, if I come up with that first bar, that's all I need. I just be going off the first bar, and 20 minutes later I got the verse ready and I'm in the fucking booth recording, you feel me? Or sometimes I'll hear a beat that I'm like, damn, this beat is amazing. I gotta take this home and really take my time to write it. So I'll come up with the first bar, and then a couple of days later I'll come up with the rest, and then blah, 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 and then it'll take a little longer to make than another certain songs. So certain songs take a couple of days, certain songs take a couple minutes, and certain songs take a couple months.
Right. That's understandable. I like that you're not. So I feel like nowadays a lot of people they do punch in or they don't write at all. But I like that you're taking your time with it.
Yeah.
And what you're writing is really coming from a deep place,
I mean, I've tried to do the whole like not writing and just and like keep it in my head, write in my head type shit. But to be honest, like my way of making music and recording music is writing. I like to write. For me, I write. Sometimes I'll write half the verse, go in there and record it, and then I'll be like, all right, I just come up with a bar. The next bar, record the next bar, and then I'll just be like, all right, punch it in, and then I'll just finish the rest of the fucking song punching it in right there. But sometimes I'll have the whole shit written, or I have the whole shit written. For me, because I don't want to be in a situation where I have to improvise and maybe make something that's not as to my standards as I wanted it to.
Right. No, I get you.
Feel me?
You have the song titled "Addiction." Do you want to talk about your addiction at all, or what's the status of it, or anything?
Well, the song "Addiction" is basically like it doesn't really like talk about my addiction or like anything like that, you know. But you know, I've been sober for a couple months, and I've actually been sober for like a year. Not consistently, but you know, I had a problem with like, you know, perks and shit like that for a little minute, and you know, sipping drink and shit like that, but not so much so that's where it starts, is like sipping drink and then smoking blunts, and you pop a couple perks, and then next thing you know, like I had a problem where I broke my foot a couple years ago. Okay. So that's where I started doing oxys and shit like that on tour, because my foot was hurting. And I ain't want it to hurt, but I also wanted to get high. Yeah. Cause you know, every time that I would pour up, I would like pop a half a perk or some shit, you know, and it's something that we do when we pour up, but it's not something that we would do habitually every day. Yeah. So I ended up doing it on tour every day, blah, 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 and then I took it home with me. Yeah. And then did it at the crib, blah, 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 and then before I knew it, I'm like, yo, I've been doing perks for a year, every fucking day. Yeah. And then I was like, and I don't want to stop. And then I just kept going. And then before I knew it, I was like almost 2 years. And 2 years in, and I was like, yo, I need to stop. And I just stopped. And then it's been...
Cold turkey?
Well, I checked myself into an outpatient program where I got the medicine I needed in order to battle the withdrawals. Yeah. Which helped a lot. So I was able to do that and seek out the help. And all I got to say to people that are struggling with addiction is that if you're ready to make that change, don't be afraid to seek for help and to reach out to somebody and to let a loved one know what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, if someone loves you and cares about you, they're going to do what they got to do to help you. And there are options out there wherever you are. In the United States, I'm just talking, you know, like where you can reach out to government programs for the Suboxone and the right medicine to get you off of get you through those withdrawals. Right. And you can check yourself into these programs and not necessarily have to go to a rehab and be there, but you know. But I was lucky enough to check myself into a rehab that a friend of mine, his dad owns it. So they were able to help me out and just kind of give me the medicine I needed and kind of let me do, you know, my thing with as far as like, you know, working and making music and doing this, doing that, because I'm always, you know, busy with shit. But yeah.
A favorite song on this project?
Honestly, I don't. I think that there's a lot of heaters on there, man. Yeah. For real, like I love the interlude song because it's very real and it's very something that is very intimate to me and something that I felt very self-conscious about sharing with the world about more deeper and more personal issues of mine through my music, you know. So I felt a little self-conscious about that, but then as soon as I dropped the tape, I got so much love from that song, and people being like, damn, like, it's crazy, like, we love this side of you, you feel me? Like, this is hard. And then also, like, Put It In My Pocket with Pouya is amazing. I fucking love that song, love that beat. I love fucking Dilate on there is fucking amazing. Slapbox, I fucking love Slapbox, too. That shit is beautiful. Man in the Mirror, everything on that shit is hard, bro.
Grandma's Boy.
Grandma's Boy is the oldest song You feel me? I decided to throw it on there as a song that I dropped in 2019. You feel me? So I was like, yo, I'm gonna throw this hoe in there. You feel me? Just to kind of like tie it all together.
Yeah. When you made that song, were you thinking about your grandma? Or like?
Nah, not really. It's you gotta actually watch the video.
Okay.
It's a music video to that song. But I named the song that because of the music video. But nah, the song is completely like I don't even think I say grandma's boy or any grandma on there or anything at all.
Yeah.
I think it was more because of the video.
Okay. What's the funnest city you've been to? I know you've been on like a lot of tours and touring around a lot.
I've been to Australia and New Zealand. We did shows out there. Me and Pouya did a couple of shows out in Australia and New Zealand. Them shits was sold out, and that shit was insane. Like, I couldn't believe to be on the other side of the world. Literally, it took us like, you had to fly to LA, and then from LA fly like 20 hours or some shit. So it's like 5 hours from Miami to LA, and then from LA to fucking over there it was like 20 hours.
Wow.
So it was like 25 hours in the air.
That sounds crazy.
That shit was life changing, bro. Like, Australia is literally like the United States of that part of the world. You feel me? But I feel like it's cooler in a way. I don't know how to explain.
Why you say cooler?
I don't know. Like, it's different, bro. It's different. It's way different than the States.
I've never been. I want to go now.
It's like an alternate reality of the United States.
Wow.
If that makes sense. You feel me? It's crazy. But it's beautiful. Like Brisbane, Australia is beautiful. And then New Zealand is tight too. Also went out to Europe to Moscow and fucking shout out to fucking Ukraine. You know, been to Kiev, Ukraine, out there in Moscow as well. Shout out to the situation going on in Ukraine and all that. You know,
definitely.
Met some of the most coolest people ever out there, and also in Russia. You know, yeah, bro. I've been deep. I can't wait to go back to Australia.
You make me want to go.
That shit.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Now we was chilling. We went to this animal sanctuary, and we were like, we took a picture with koalas, and then we was hanging out with fucking kangaroos and shit, like feeding them like little peanuts and shit. Like, yeah. It was fucking dope.
That's tight. If you could pick yourself to be any animal in the world, what would it be and why?
Damn. I'd probably be a great white shark.
Why?
I don't know, cause I feel like they just eat good. Like, like you never seen a great white shark that's like skinny.
Nah.
Feel me? They always like, you know, they round, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, probably a shark.
I like that. Were you ever involved in the streets, Eddie, or like what you always been like by the book, or like what's up with that?
What you mean?
Like, were you ever involved in the streets, like, you know, trapping? I don't know.
Shit, nah, bro. I ain't never trapped in my life, bro.
Got you.
I don't even know about what trapping is, bro. I ain't never heard about no trapping, know about no trapping. Fucking, you know, when I grew up, I was trying to be in the Boy Scouts, but they ain't let me in there, you feel me? But, yeah, I don't know nothing about no trapping, none of that. I ain't, you know, none of that.
Gotcha.
I used to sell cookies and Snicker bars, all that shit growing up, you feel me? All that.
Got you. If somebody never heard any music from you, what song would you tell them to listen to?
Listen to goddamn listen to Life on Our Terms out now, bitch. Listen to all goddamn 13 songs right now, motherfucker. That shit gonna be goddamn 28 minutes. I think it ain't gonna take a lot of your day, but it's gonna make you have the best day ever. I swear to God.
Straight up. What can the fans expect from you moving forward? Like videos, shows.
Shit, like, I'm about to drop. I'm about to just go crazy. I'm about to drop a bunch of singles. I'm about to drop another motherfucking mixtape before the end of the year. I'm about to drop maybe another tape with my dog Pouya. You feel me? I'm about to drop maybe a tape with my dog Shakewell. You know, work on some shit with my little homie Rocky. You know, maybe some like different vibes. You know, you might hear the first LudoValley Spanish track this motherfucking year. You know what I mean? So that's what we doing, man. I got my foot on the motherfucking gas right now, and I swear to God, I'm about to go crazy this year. Like, they don't even know, bro.
I'm excited for it. I wish you much success moving forward. For my final question, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the younger you?
What advice would I give to my younger self is I have patience and to not, even though like I felt like I couldn't tell my younger self like don't do drugs for me, because I feel like I would have done them anyway. But like I would have just told my younger self just be patient and to work harder. You feel me? Always work harder. You know what I mean? Like as time went on, I realized that I had to work harder and harder and harder and harder. I feel like if I would have had a certain work ethic at a certain point, you know, I would have been able to, you know, keep evolving, but then I would have maybe done something else with my life, maybe not music. You feel me? Right. So, you know.
Have you always had a grill? You know, I'm from the Bay. Grills are like a big part of our culture, and I see you got one.
I had gold since like 5th grade.
For real?
Like since like 5th grade, my mom bought me some golds. It was like the bottom like 4 and shit.
That's crazy.
But it was because it was a thing where I grew up in South Miami. It was like everybody had golds and shit. You know what I'm saying? We call them golds over there in Miami, or slugs. But yeah, I grew up, you know, with always losing them and this and that. But yeah, you know, now I got, you know, these is on me for real. So
they're permanent.
Yes, sir. You did.
Wait, so you'll never take them out at all, ever?
Hell no. These hoes on me.
What made you decide to get permanents?
I mean, it's like, are they really permanent? Because it's like, I'm going to take them out for some gold ones. I mean, I'm going to take them out for some diamond ones one day, you feel me? So, right. You know, are they permanent for now?
Got you.
You did.
Is there any final words you want to say before you get out of here?
Life on Our Terms out now, Lil Hirsch. You did.
Yes, sir. Dope interview on the way, man. Y'all make sure to tune in, man. I'm excited for this one to drop. I appreciate you for pulling up.
Yes, sir.